So that was a British territorial subcontractor and a separate constitution, which looks a great deal like the federal constitution, but is actually tweaked in various ways to expedite the duties and powers that were shared out to the Queen. And last, okay, that happened in 1789. And last, we have a similar profit sharing agreement that was worked out with the Pope, with the Holy Roman Empire. And that is called the Constitution of the United States. No America about it, okay? So they have their own subcontracting agreement that they're obligated to obey and perform. And all of this ultimately threaded back to the Federation, and from the Federation to the individual states, and the individual states ratified it. So if you wanted to think about this as a funnel, you've got the 50 states all funneling in to the Federation, and then you've got the Federation successively delegating powers, first to the Confederation, then through the Confederation to the Federal Republic, all of which are American, and then to a British territorial subcontractor and to a Holy Roman Empire subcontractor.
Very good. Thank you for that. That's fantastic. Now, what recently took place, though, is that the constitutions are essentially contracts for power sharing agreements.
Right.
But you have released those contracts and said, no contract with the territorial, no contract with the municipal. The only guy who has a contract is Donald J. Trump. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, well, you said it correctly. I'm not sure that everybody's understanding it correctly. You see, we never had a contract with those corporations.
Right.
In between the original setup of the constitutions and now, our subcontractors reorganized their business. The Pope and the Queen and the Lord Mayor of London decided to convert their original businesses, which were all unincorporated businesses, right?
Okay.
Into corporations, and to charter out those functions to corporations. Okay, that happened about 70 years after the constitutions were put in place.
Okay.
So they're still operating these corporations, and they are still responsible for the operations of these corporations. But we don't have a contract with those corporations.
Right.
We have a contract with the Queen.
Right.
We have a contract with the Lord Mayor. We have a contract with the Holy Roman Empire and the Pope acting as Roman Pontiff, all right? These things that we're watching right now, the USA Inc. and the US Inc., are just corporations like any commercial corporation.
Sure.
Okay? And since we don't have a contract with them directly, any complaints that we have with them go back to what are called the principals, the Queen, the Lord Mayor, and the Pope. And really, you have to think about this in terms of being the employers. Okay? We have hired the Queen and the Lord Mayor and the Pope to do certain specific jobs for us, just like you might hire an electrician or a plumber to do a specific job for you, okay? And they have then used an instrumentality, a corporation, to deliver that service to us.
Okay.
Okay, so ultimately we're the employers
Right.
and they are the employees.
Right.
So the corporations have got a contract with the Queen or with the Pope. We have a contract with the Queen or the Pope. And it works like the house that Jack built.
Mm-hmm.
We begin beating the Queen and the Pope about the misdeeds of their corporations. And their corporations are then in a welter trying to figure out, oh, we're doing this wrong, okay? The stick begins to beat the dog begins to chase the cat begins to chase the rat that ate the cheese that sat in the house that Jack built. And it's that kind of, I hesitate to say hierarchy, because hierarchy implies that you know, this is all some great power thing, but it's really just an employer gets to demand what they want and need from their employees according to a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just enforcing a contract.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody has cause to know what the contract is.
Absolutely.
Now, because we don't have a direct contract with any of these corporations, what these corporations do, how they, you know, decide who's going to be their president, not our president, their president, and how they interact with each other is immaterial to us as employers.
Right.
They have their own organizational faux pas, their own power struggles. They have political parties, we don't. You know, they're foreign to us, okay? So these foreign corporations are here fighting out over all of these different issues. But to us as employers, what matters is, are they doing their jobs? How well are they doing their jobs? Are they trespassing in some way that's harming us? Those are our concerns.
Sure.
We don't care who provides those services. I mean, it, in the great picture of things, doesn't matter if Juan Rodriguez mows my lawn, or if Patty O'Brien mows my lawn, or if Jacques Flambeau mows my lawn. It's completely immaterial to me. What matters is that my lawn gets mowed on schedule the way I like it.
Right.
And if it doesn't, then we got a problem.
Right.
And so, you know, a lot of this stuff has to do with making the principals aware of the problems that their instrumentalities, their corporations, their governmental services corporations are causing. And then secondarily, assessing the performance of those corporations. And finally, bringing forward any trespasses that these corporations have made against their employers.
Mm-hmm.
And people should be thinking about it in terms of that employer-employee construct.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a certain element of trust involved here, and therefore the fundamental crime of breach of trust. Because when you turn to your employee and you give him a lawnmower and you say, okay, this is my lawn, there are the borders of my lawn with the other neighbor, and you're supposed to cut the grass in this area. Okay. You've given instructions. We gave the constitutions, right? Those are the instructions. And if they don't do the job, then there's a problem. If they do the job, but then they lop onto the neighbor's yard, there's a problem. if they break the lawnmower, then we have a question of who's going to pay for the lawnmower. This is an employer-employee relationship. And to the extent that our trust in our employees is misplaced by deliberate malfeasance and trespass and bad behavior on the part of the employees, then that is a true breach of trust. That's beyond the realm of, oh, gee, I hit a tree branch, or I hit a tree root and broke the blade on the lawnmower. I mean, we're not talking about stuff like that when we're talking breach of trust. When we're talking about breach of trust, we're talking about people deliberately abusing their office or their job, okay?
Mhm.
And there's been plenty of that that's gone on. One of the problems that we have with Joe Biden is that he provably and admittedly acted in breach of trust
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
by selling his office, by abusing his office as vice president under Obama. He breached our trust. Therefore, we don't want anything to do with him. And frankly, we don't have any obligation to his corporation, no matter what they do.
Right.
Remember, we don't have a contract